for Trump, what is vital is that this operation be short and swift, because otherwise there are political costs for him. His MAGA base does not want any long war. If you see the way he is constantly shifted, raising Greenland one week, another week Iran, etc., he seems to be also diverting attention from the Epstein files, because of his name being there and his actions being detailed there. And the Iranians have also now determined that, look, it is unbearable to be hit every 6 months and to be threatened every week. The regime won't survive at this rate in any case. So the Iranians have determined, according to DropSite and other sources, that a minimum of 500 US soldiers will have to be killed this time if they attack. They will also possibly do something in the Persian Gulf. The forces are in place. Literally thousands of American bombs and missiles are in place. But the Americans will also have to pay a price. And Iran, though much depleted, it's not finished. It still has hundreds, maybe thousands of missiles and UAV drones and suicide drones, etc. Welcome, friends. We are in the precipice of a huge crisis, maybe a war between the United States and Iran. I'm going to lay out today the political trade-offs involved, the political stakes involved for both sides, and also the military aspects of this conflict. So first, starting off with the political aspects, Trump had promised through his tweets and public statements that he would come to the aid of the Iranian protesters a few weeks ago. Thousands of them have died. We don't know exactly how many, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. We don't know the exact number. But Iran is still in an internet blackout, which tells you what was the scale of killings. I want to clarify that some of these killings were provoked by the Mossad, which they admit, the Israelis have been admitting, and the CIA. But also many of these were organic because of the extreme economic hardship due to the sanctions that the US imposed by Trump, which were partly under the pressure of Jewish Zionists. We know that they influence US foreign policy in the Middle East massively. We know it because of, various books that have been written by people like Professor Mearsheimer at Chicago University and Stephen Walt at Harvard. But we also know it because, as I showed you in my previous videos, that clip from openly Trump stating that a single Jewish family, the Edelson family, had given him $250 million in the previous election as election funding. And he says clearly that they will give me another $250 million. They have promised if I stand again in 2028. He has said clearly that the husband and the wife used to come to him repeatedly and say, all we want is for you to support Israel. All we want is you to take action in favor of Israel. So he seems to have fulfilled that. In 2018, he left the JCPOA agreement, which Obama had negotiated with Iran, and imposed full sanctions. And the Europeans have followed suit. Generally, they don't like to oppose the US because they're too dependent on the US, both militarily and economically. These sanctions created conditions. And also, of course, there's some organic opposition because, after all, the regime in Iran is not fully democratic. And so it has also in the past carried out, massacres, as you know. In 1988 and 1981, mass executions were carried out of thousands of prisoners. Apart from the regular repression, then there are many minorities which are unhappy, the Kurdish minority, Baloch, etc., the Arab in the marshlands in the south, at the Shati al-Arab. So anyway, Trump has promised support, and now Trump has built up such a huge forces and armada and air forces in that region, which I'll explain later, that he's kind of cornered himself into doing something. Also, I would say, if you see the way he is constantly shifted, raising Greenland one week, another week Iran, etc., he seems to be also diverting attention from the Epstein files, because of his name being there and his actions being detailed there. He doesn't want this kind of a rupture, both with the general American population and with his base, which is very focused on the Epstein files and the pedophiles and the sex traffickers who were involved in it. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only reason. Each time there was also a specific reason. For example, in the case of Greenland, he wanted his name in history. He thought this would be the largest land purchase in American history, even greater than the Louisiana Purchase and all of that, Alaska Purchase. So he wanted that, but that didn't turn out in his favor, though he has managed to get some concessions from the Europeans. So now he's cornered himself on Iran, and also he's putting up maximalist positions on Iran. That is, when he destroyed the JCPOA in 2018, he asked for zero enrichment. That is, he insists, unlike Obama, who was allowing up to 20% uranium enrichment so that the Iranians could fuel their nuclear power plants, he's insisting zero enrichment, not even for your nuclear power plants, and shifting out all previous nuclear material outside. Plus, he has put now two more demands which seem to have come from the Israelis or from, Zionist Jews in America, which is that all ballistic missiles with a range which can reach Israel have to be handed over or destroyed. And second, all proxies, all Iranian proxies, support must stop to them, whether it is Houthis, or whether it is Iraqi militias, or it is Hezbollah, or it is Hamas. Problem is, these three sets of demands are too extreme for any regime in Iran, not even the present regime, but even any future regime to accept. Even the Khamenei, of course, opposed to it, and so is much of the IRGC leadership. But even if they were to be removed, nobody could accept all of these demands. Now, this could be a negotiating strategy on the part of Trump, make maximalist demands and he'll settle for less. But even agreeing to one of them completely would be, I think, not possible. And the Iranians have also now determined that, look, it is unbearable to be hit every 6 months and to be threatened every week. The regime won't survive at this rate in any case. So unlike previous times where they used to telegraph their attacks, either through diplomatic channels, indirectly through other allies, to the Israelis or the Americans that we are about to attack, and therefore there would be less casualties and there would be less chance of a flare-up or a full-scale war. So the Iranians have determined, according to DropSite and other sources, that a minimum of 500 US soldiers will have to be killed this time if they attack. So even if it's not that number, it will certainly be in the hundreds that they want. They want to inflict a certain cost on the United States to prevent future flare-ups like this. They want certain cost to be inflicted on Israel, so they will strike Israel with missiles. They will also possibly do something in the Persian Gulf, such as blocking Hormuz, etc. And they have some capabilities, now, what exactly will be the determination by the regime, I can't say. American strategy so far has three broad possibilities. The first is just regime decapitation. That is, just remove Khamenei and some top leaders. The second could be punish the IRGC and besiege the paramilitary arm, which was responsible for the killings of the protesters. The third level could be attack their missile sites, their nuclear sites, which is what Israel wants, and also maybe attack their petroleum infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, so that they are not able to export much. If they are not able to export, then it will completely collapse the regime because all revenue source will dry up. It could be some combination of three or all three. We're not sure yet. Now, what is Iran's counter? Iran's counter is, one, strike the US bases nearby. US has bases in all the Persian Gulf countries. You strike Israel and use Iranian naval forces, which are small, fast attack speedboats and anti-ship missiles, to attack the US fleet, but also to attack maybe commercial oil tankers. That is, inflict, either completely close Hormuz or inflict such punishment that it shoots up the price of oil. Iran has the capacity to close Hormuz for a few weeks. And even if it doesn't do that, but it attacks oil tankers, automatically all oil traffic will cease. And insurance costs for oil tankers will skyrocket, which will mean oil price can go anywhere to $100, $200, $300 per barrel. So this would also impose economic costs, apart from military costs, on the West, especially the United States and Europe, etc. So Iran has determined that, look, we must, and we have to, in fact, strike back. If we don't, we open ourselves to constant hitting and constant blackmailing by the US and Israel. And the regime, as I said, would anyway not survive. So what exactly are the American forces in the region? The American forces in the region can be divided up into air, naval, and satellite and surveillance and reconnaissance assets. In terms of naval assets, the United States, of course, has nuclear submarines, which we don't know where they are exactly. It also has, apart from these SSBNs, subsurface ballistic nuclear missiles, submarines, they have SSGNs. That is, of the total 18 Ohio-class submarines, 4 were converted into SSGNs, that is, cruise missile-carrying Tomahawk submarines. Each of those submarines has about 150, 154 Tomahawks. Where they are, we don't know. There would probably be a couple of boomers, also SSBNs around. Each of them carries around 200 to 250 nuclear warheads. Similarly, they have several Arleigh-class destroyers, maybe some Ticonderoga around. Each of them carrying, again, dozens of Tomahawks, which have a range of about 1,600 kilometers and a fairly powerful 1-ton warhead. Of course, conventional explosives. There are littoral combat ships. There are massive air forces. Everything is there, from F-15 to F-18 to F-22, stealth fighters, Raptors, Lightning. They also have massive reconnaissance aircrafts like RC-135. They have air-to-air refuelers like AC-135s. They have UAVs, massive UAVs, which are both can attack and can do reconnaissance. They have a large number of satellites. I mean, the US, if you include the commercial satellites, has almost 9,000 possibly intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance satellites. They're probably looking deep into Iran right now. You have stealth drones, the kind that they used in Venezuela. So massive air forces, each of these assets carries huge number of weapons. They have, of course, also the B-2 bombers, the B-52 bombers, the B-1. They're all either parked at Diego Garcia, or they can even fly from their home bases in the United States or Europe by air-to-air refueling. They have a lot of missile batteries. They have moved THAAD, that is high altitude and Patriot batteries to shoot down Iranian missiles. Both they've been put on their bases in, for example, in Qatar at Al Udeid, then in Saudi, Kuwait, and Bahrain and UAE. Even though these countries have said that, look, don't use our airspace, we will not allow that, don't use our land to attack Iran, and they have conveyed that to Iran and through other diplomatic channels. But Iran might have to attack at least the oil infrastructure in some of these if it wants to have a stern reckoning for the United States. That is an economic reckoning. And also for its allies, for constantly supporting the US. So they could, of course, directly attack the bases and cause American casualties, all the ships. Also, US citizens, Israeli tourists in the region, they could be under threat because there are some in Dubai, etc. And of course, Israel proper could come under attack because they know that if America attacks, Israel will usually join in any attack. In fact, I believe Netanyahu has conveyed that to Trump, that I'll join you in any attack. So the forces are in place. Literally thousands of American bombs and missiles are in place. And but the Americans will also have to pay a price. And Iran, though much depleted, it's not finished. It still has hundreds, maybe thousands of missiles and UAV drones and suicide drones, etc. It has dozens of these small fast attack boats with anti-ship missiles and also coastal batteries. Of course, the coastal missile batteries could be destroyed by the US quickly. And we have to see whether the US is able to destroy these fast attack boats also or not. But I doubt US will be able to destroy every missile launch truck, because these are too many, too numerous, too dispersed. Maybe some of them are hidden also. And I think maybe the US is also, according to some sources, aiming for regime change. That is, they expect that people will come out on the street. Iranian protesters will again come out on the street if they see the regime has been sufficiently weakened. The question is, who will replace? Will it be another group of generals or some other strongman or IRGC connected individuals? Or will they be a genuine regime change? That's also not clear. In fact, that's what Marco Rubio, the US Secretary of State, said in his address to the Senate the other day, to the House of Congress. So it's not clear what the end game is for Trump. Will he just take some deal and back out? If the Iranians, whether the Iranians will agree to any such deal, or will there be a dust up, or will there be a big war, which will throw global oil prices and assets into flux, and so it will impact us also here in India. One thing has to be borne in mind, that up to now, all of Trump's operations have been very short and swift, without any cost blowback to the US. That is, when you see the killing of Qasem Soleimani in 2020, or you see the attack along with the Israelis 6 months ago on the nuclear sites in Fordo, etc., or you see the Venezuela operation. Whenever Trump attacks, he wants a short operation. The lengthy operation that went on against the Houthis, he withdrew from once there was some cost for the US. So for Trump, what is vital is that this operation be short and swift, because otherwise there are political costs for him. His MAGA base does not want any long war. They fear what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, where they had to pay the price. That is, lower middle class Americans who constitute the American armed forces, and also the amount of expenditure on these wars took away taxes from them, took away welfare from them. So they want expenditure to be done at home. They don't want foreign wars. And so any lengthy operation with a tit for tat going on for months or weeks, with the costs for the US in terms of lives lost, would be very unpopular with Trump's base. So Trump is unlikely to go for that, but he might end up getting dragged, as I pointed out, because the Iranians have also figured out that this is unbearable, getting hit every 6 months, getting threatened every week, and hence they have determined that they will attack. So the bottom line is, we don't know where this is going. Just stay tuned, and we'll know within the next couple of days how this is going to end, with a negotiation, with a Trump back down, what is called taco, Trump always chickens out, or a FAFO, F around and find out. So keep watching. I know you must be wondering why I'm wearing this cap. Well, it's not because I love the Red Army. I know what the Red Army did in Poland, in Berlin in 1945, and to the Polish army in 1939. It's just that I like this cap, and it helps me to think through. And keep watching, and subscribe and like and share the content if you like it. God knows we need more subscribers. Thank you.